Hey everybody, so there seems to be a lot of confusion on what happened with the house that we were trying to buy. So I'm going to give you guys the full story. Hopefully share some knowledge with people who maybe never bought a house, or maybe people who are trying to buy a house and there are different rules and regulations now. So let's get into it. Um, we planned a year prior. We met with the lady who did my parents' mortgage a few years ago to go ahead and prepare for this year so we could get moved into a house. For some reason, and at this time, I don't know a ton about mortgages. I've learned a lot here in the past 6 months. But at this time, back in, I think it was May, I didn't know a ton. But she had told me that she could somehow use this year's income. I've had a great year this year, and that she gave me a pre-qualifying letter up to $500,000. So we found a house that we liked. I think it was like 480 is what we found that we liked. And we go up there, we put the money down on the house, give them the pre-qualifying letter, and start the process. Then they tell us that if we want to get the special offer that they had running, which I think was like $15,000 off, we had to use one of their preferred lenders. So to get that, I sent all of my information to the preferred lender, and they told me pretty much immediately, hey, we can't get you approved for this house. We can only get you approved for something. I think it was like 420 was all they could approve me for. So I called back the original lender, and I was like, hey, I'm like, can you give me a proof for this house? Because these other lenders are saying they can't. And she basically just ghosted me. Never heard back from her at all. Don't know what happened. Pretty crappy. So the original house that we wanted, we couldn't get. So then they fortunately had a house, a couple houses down, that would be in the price range. And the house fit everything that we needed. And honestly, I kind of liked this floor plan better. Um, the only reason that this kind of house sucked is um, it's a beautiful home, but it was also 30 minutes north of where we currently live. As all of you guys know, interest rates are still pretty high. And this time, I think it was close to 7 for the interest rate. And my 2023 income was not anything great. Uh, so the best we could do was 420, which I mean, hey, it's a solid house. And the sad part about that is, my parents bought a really beautiful house 5 years ago for 480, and it's 3,200 square feet, it has a pool, has a beautiful house, and they have like a 2.5% interest rate. Um, and it stinks because now here 5 years later everything is pretty much doubled. So 420 doesn't get you anything all of that amazing, but it was still a solid home. But it wasn't really in the area that we wanted to live. But we were pregnant, and we really wanted to get settled into this house before Asa is born. And they said this house was going to be ready in September. This was, I think, end of May, early June at this point. And the house is pretty much already complete. All they had to do at the time was just put appliances, which they did not long after, and then do the landscaping and put in carpets. So we were told that everything would be pretty much good to go. I figured we'd get approved. Well, when I started sending all the information in to the lenders, uh, my tax guy, he did he did not differentiate my businesses. So we have a family irrigation landscape lighting business. And I also have my social media, and I also have my investments. And he did not differentiate the two businesses in 2023. So it looked like I only had one business, and you have to have to show 2 years proof of income on both businesses for me to qualify. So at the end of June, when all this was discovered, we I was told that he went in and did an amendment, and that within 30 days or so that I would hear back and everything would be good to go. House wasn't supposed to be ready till September, so 30 days would have put us into July, and would have been good to go. Well, 30 days go by, I don't hear anything. I do some Googling research. I realize it could take up to 3 months. I call Beezer Homes, and I was like, hey, can I still, you guys fine waiting on the 30 days? They said, yeah, no big deal. House will be ready till September. Take as much time as you want. I'm like, okay. Well, I still don't hear anything. I'm calling the IRS. I don't hear anything. Can't get a hold of anybody on the phone. I end up scheduling a appointment with the local IRS agent, but they couldn't meet until August 21st. So go in there, and Beezer's fine with waiting. Everything's good there. I go in August, and they said that it would be updated within 30 days. Well, that never happened, and then the government shut down. And then at this point, the house still isn't being completed. On their end, they're saying they're fine, still waiting. But a month goes by, and I'm still just waiting to hear back. It would have been September 21st. So I'm just waiting to hear back. I don't talk to anybody from Beezer. I don't hear anything. But they told us in August that there was some sort of revision with the sewage, which didn't seem to make too much sense because apparently sewage permits are some of the first things you get whenever you build a house. And then the builder ended up calling me and telling me that the city made them do something different. So I don't know if something wasn't up to code or whatnot. We didn't get a clear explanation on that. But then he told me that, I think it was end of September, he ends up telling me that they were still waiting to hear back from the city, and that it was going to be, best case scenario was going to be December 1st that the house would be done. And then he told me 30 to 45 days, so it really could have been up to December 15th was best case scenario. Well, that really started to put a lot of stress on us because we needed to buy a brand new family vehicle, because Emily's car was 14 years old. It shaked and everything when you drive, and had 160,000 miles on it. And it was a pretty much beater that her brother fixes cars and everything. So he had bought that and fixed it up for her. And it ran. And because she had totaled her Jeep a few years ago, so she just needed something that could run, and she had a couple $1,000s, and he fixed it up for her. So really not the safest, most reliable vehicle. And I have a 10-year-old car. I have a Dodge Challenger, and it's been a great vehicle. I've had pretty much no issues with it, but you can't put a car seat in it. It's not a family vehicle. And we also plan to have 4 kids. So really started to put a lot of stress on me because we need to get a family vehicle, and I was holding off on the vehicle until the house was going to be done. Well, now they're telling me best case scenario is going to be December 15th. And one, I really don't want to go through the housing process while Emily's about to give birth. She's due December 29th, and it could have been any day that she could give birth. So going through the whole housing process, knowing that really any day in December she could give birth, that's stressful enough in itself, let alone trying to send more, housing information. Because as you guys know, if you bought a house, they ask you for a million freaking things. So a lot of stress there. And I knew best case scenario was December 15th, and I still don't think it was going to be done by then, to be honest with you, just the feeling I was going to get. And then we decided that, hey, it's probably not best to move into this house because something was going off with Beezer, because they'd ended up firing all of their agents. And they had fired one guy right after we had met him, and then a month later they had fired somebody else, and then 2 more agents. They had fired the ones that we were working with, and then come to find out they had fired all of the preferred lenders. I'm telling them I still don't hear anything back from the IRS. Like, how long are we going to wait on this? And at this point, we really don't want the house because it just seems sketchy, to be honest with you. They fired all their agents. They still were waiting on this one thing, supposedly. And they really weren't giving us a clear explanation on it. And we also need a family vehicle. So I can't wait. I can't risk us going to the hospital and having the baby and not having a car to drive him home in, or around town and to doctor's visits and everything. So we had to go ahead and purchase a family car, which I knew would completely mess up my debt to income ratio. As everybody likes to comment on my videos and be like, oh, you should know not to buy. Of course we know. I wish I could have held out longer. But then we started to really not want the house. So I told him, I said, look, I haven't heard back from the IRS. The government is shut down. I don't know when that's going to end. How much longer are we going to wait here? I have to buy a family vehicle. It sucks. I would love to move into this house, but it's not working out that way. And they're like, well, fine, you can cancel, but you're not going to get your money back. which was $13,000 earnest down payment, which was BS because whenever we had started with this house and got into the process, he's like, listen, if you get the taxes stuff straight, then, we can move forward with the house. And that never happened. So I gave the rest of the money because he said that, hey, if you get the taxes straight, you can get this house. Well, I don't know how long we're supposed to wait on all that. So we told them, hey, this is not working out, so we'd like our money back. Well, of course, they have this new lady that just took over from Myrtle Beach, and she's like, no, you're not getting your money. And instead of like dealing with the one person that was still there, who I had briefly spoken to once, they're like having to run everything through this lady. And I know all this just because the preferred lender that I was dealing with, who got fired, he was telling me all this, that she was a, quote, real bulldog. And I guess they had changed their policy. I read online that Beazer Homes is down like 50% in earnings over the last year. The housing market's crumbling. So I know why they're trying to keep my money is because the housing market's crap. Well, we're going back and forth. Our realtors did a phenomenal job talking to them, sending them very professional emails, and they told us twice one morning that, oh yeah, we can't give you the money back because of conditional loan approval. Well, my realtor's, reading through the contract and everything, so he decides to call the lender and is like, hey, what's this stuff with like conditional loan approval, and like, do you have anything on that? And he goes, what emails are you talking about? So then you go back to the email thread, you realize that Beazer took off the mortgage lender from the email thread so he wouldn't see, because he would have said he never got conditional loan approval, which means I can't get the house. And it was end of July, whenever I was going to go waiting to hear back from the IRS. I had signed a document that said that I had 30 days to get conditional loan approval. That was a contract that I had signed. They had verbally agreed to give me a longer date, but nothing substantial outside of that. And per their contract, if you don't have conditional loan approval, you get your earnest money back. So we send them a nice worded email, and then 6 hours later, we get an email back saying, oh, you'll get your money back, and we'll have it back for you soon. Still took a month to get the money back from there, but we got it back. So real strenuous, stressful process over the last 5-6 months, because I'm just trying to get a house, for our family. And yeah, it was in an area that we absolutely loved. No, house was cool. The design of it was awesome. But it's not really the area that we want to be in. I'd like to be closer to my family and in an area that we just truly love and want to be in. Fortunately, I've had a good year this year and had a good year last year, so we can move into any area that we want to next year. So we just have to wait and do our taxes. 2023 income will no longer be relevant, so we don't have to worry about hearing anything back from the IRS. But just super stressful situation, because I just want to get us into a house, so we have more room and everything, and just have our own place. And of course, there are people in here. There's also some silly thing that people have started the last few years. A lot of people seem to believe that we live in my parents' basement or live in my brother's house. Been renting the same house for 6 years now. It's a nice 1,700 square foot home. It's a solid home, but we just would like a little bit more space and just have something of our own. I wish I had bought a house in 2020 when everything was much cheaper and my stocks and everything were really high. I could have taken the money out. I regret that all the time that I did not do that. But the way work went over the last several years, we had a solid, steady incline as inflation rose. That directly hurts our business. So our income wasn't great the last few years, and interest rates started to skyrocket up towards the sevens. So it really wasn't a good time to buy. And I think, next March or April will be a much better time to buy. And I think that we'll get a house that we are truly in love with. So super excited for that. I think everything kind of works out as it should. and we'll have the baby, and which, the baby's just going to be, in a little bassinet for a few months anyways. So really won't be a big deal. And for those who are, curious also, my brother and I have lived together our entire lives. I have a great relationship with my brother. I work with him. Um, he probably will move with us next year. We'll get a house, and, we'll get a big enough house to where he'll have his own space, and we'll also be paying a third of my mortgage, which will be great. So, yeah, that's our living situation for those of you who seem to be concerned about it. Um, so y'all can stop going online saying that I live in a basement, live in my parents' basement. Yeah, that is the most absurd thing. I do okay for myself. But yeah, that was the entire situation. I can't believe it took me 15 minutes to explain all this. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. And so we're super excited for the future. The baby should be here in 4 weeks. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving.